Hello, my name is Kerry Arth, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. As you can see, the camera is up in the top right, and that's so that we have plenty of screen real estate for the Warhammer models that we are going to take a look at today, because today we're going to take a look at some of, in my opinion, and this is obviously entirely my own opinion, you may fully disagree, some of the basically most shockingly awful models that really shouldn't be for sale anymore for Warhammer 40,000. We've done our favourite models. I liked that. I liked seeing your responses to that. But for me, there are certain standout models in the Warhammer 40,000 range that really need to piss off, to be honest. And so we're just gonna go through a few that I think really at this point need to be replaced. And I want to see which ones you hate the most in the comments below. And of course, it's entirely subjective. You might love some of these, but I don't. Which is why I'm showing them. And I thought since it's going to be mostly images, we would have the browser up there so we can switch the images nice and quick, and I'll just be in the corner, mostly out of the way. So we have a strong start, if you ask me, a strong start for stuff that Games Workshop just shouldn't be selling anymore. Because we're starting with the wartrack and the war buggy. Now, why the wartrack and the war buggy, you may ask? Fucking look at them. They are ancient. These models have been around for I don't even know how long. I can remember starting an Orc army back when I was, I want to say 16, 17, and given that I'm 30 now, that was quite a long time ago. And I remember picking some of these up. I think it was 2 war buggies and 1 wartrack, second hand. And even then, I was like, these seem a bit old. The orcs don't match the current. I mean, look at that. Look at that orc, right? Look at him. Doesn't match the actual orcs that you get for the armies. The proportions are different somehow. They're not as hunched over. The arms and the face aren't as detailed. The face shape is not quite the same. Especially the guy driving it, like the difference is huge when you look at his face. It's kind of tricky because of the angle of the photo, but they're a little bit closer here. In fairness, on the war buggy, they are a little bit closer to what you would expect to see from a bunch of orc boys normally, but there's still just like the proportions are all wrong, especially when you compare them to actual orcs now. I mean, God's sake, let's have a quick gander at the orc range, and we'll have a look at, say, a vehicle, and there we go. So, good example, battle wagon. It's an older kit, but it checks out. Oh, dearie me, why did I say that? But you look at that. It is an older model, but it looks okay, nicely detailed, very orky. Now look at the war buggy. The proportions on the war buggy are way off compared to the battle wagon. That's the only way I can possibly describe it. It is way off. That looks like it could actually function on a selection of terrain. That has got the smallest wheelbase known to man, and presumably, given the width of it, if it approached any sort of hill, would immediately flop over. I don't know why they're still for sale, and I don't know why Games Workshop haven't updated them if they do insist on keeping them up for sale, because they're old as fuck and they look terrible. So that is honestly one of the worst models for me. I cannot stand it. A close second is not even the Sororitas Command Squad itself, because actually most of these, yeah, they're looking a bit dated now, but they look all right. No, it's one particular model, and it's this woman right here. I don't know who is responsible for that sculpt. She's not actually a Muppet. She's supposed to be a human being, but that is the mouth of a puppet designed by Jim Henson, and I just, combined with the glasses, I don't know what it is about that, but it looks like it's been made out of Play-Doh. It could also be the paint job, but goddamn, guys, I mean, look at it. It's not a good look. No human looks like that normally. Even if you're shouting, you don't look like that. And somehow, somehow that's how she looks. It's just really bad. And the thing that upsets me, it doesn't upset me, but the thing that makes it funny to me is that the rest of this is, as I say, a little bit dated, but apart from being a little bit dated, they're decent sculpts, they look alright. And then, I mean, even the hospitaller in the back, she looks okay. And then you get to her. This is just, what are you doing with your face and your mouth? That's not how humans work. Put it away. Jesus Christ. On a similar note, frankly, it amazes me that these are still available. Honestly, I don't know how these models, the prisoners models, are still for sale. This is baffling to me. At a time where, you know, Slaanesh was wiped from Warhammer Fantasy or Age of Sigmar, still having these models available? For a start, I mean, where do we even begin with the anatomy of this one? How the rib cage, so the rib cage is like the rib cage starts there, like where you can see on the mouse there. So that presumably is where the rib cage starts. It's not a 6-pack, it's a 4-pack where there's 2 at the top and 4 and 2 really long ones down below. The depth of I can't even. I look at that and my mind doesn't go, a damsel in distress. Instead, it's like, the fuck's happened to her body? Like, what's happened to that? That's not normal. Was she stretched on the rack or something? I mean, she is just absolutely sick of your shit and she's not having any of it. It's amazing that those models are still being made. It's amazing they're still for sale. And I'll be absolutely honest, they probably shouldn't be, because look at them. It's really not good. They're really not good. Oh, Lord. You know what? We'll move on to the old Arco flagellants. These guys. I've never heard that word spoken aloud. I've got no idea how to pronounce it. Most stuff I can guess. I can at least get close to it. This, no clue. No fucking clue whatsoever. The idea of these is really cool. You know, you've got these genetically mangled freaks with weapons spliced onto their arms, and they lose their shit on people. Sounds good. The execution, however, is looking severely dated at this point in time. For a start, Games Workshop back in the olden days had no fucking idea how to do dynamic poses at all. If it wasn't a guy looking like he was about to shit himself, you weren't going to have any luck. And so, when they did start toying with the idea of things like dynamic poses, you ended up with stuff like this, where you sort of the dynamic part of the pose is that as they're hunched forward running, inexplicably they're going, because that's obviously, if you're running into battle, that's how you run. You don't go like that. I'm doing exaggerated because I can't run in a fucking seat, but you do that. But you don't normally run by going. And yet, what do we have? We have that movement described in that pose, which, not ideal. It's also the fact that the detail on some of these, like the fact that this dude here, the front guy, that is an advertisement for that. That logo looks like I scratched it in with a scalpel when I didn't know what I was doing. It may be intentional, it looks like that, but it doesn't look great. All in all, not great, and I mean, obviously they're never going to get replaced, but it'd be nice if they were, with something a bit less, you know what I mean? Now, the two older models that I mean, most of these are actually old models, is the main problem with them, but it's the thing that I really hate is that they're still for sale and they're just not of the quality, you know? That's what makes me really dislike them. At least other stuff can be changed, it can be moulded, it can be just messed with to make it look good, or at least passable. These, it's not happening. This here, This chap. Poor lad. Poor lad. I don't even know what it is specifically about this model, but I've always had this just weird sense that it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look threatening. It doesn't look intimidating. The combi bolter is, I don't know what the hell that is. I mean, it's obviously a combi. Well, I think it's. I say obviously. I think it's a combi flamer. It looks like it should be, but it's really weirdly built, and the hand, the grip is not in the same position as any other bolter, from what I can really tell, and it just looks off. That looks really off, and the pose of the guy is so stiff that it kind of looks like he has to turn his whole chest. Now, Chaos Space Marines have that problem anyway. They have not received anywhere near as much of the love that Space Marines have in terms of having the guys actually look like they're doing something. And of course, they're nowhere near the Death Watch or Primaris levels of actually having a dynamic pose. But there's something about this particular Night Lord, Chaos Lord, that has always just seemed totally off. Just like, it just has never looked right to me. It's always looked goofy and stiff and like he can't move. And that's not intimidating. That's not scary. That's not terrifying. That's not Night Lords. And as a result, it's got a special place in my heart as something that I wish they'd just fuck off and not have. Especially, I mean, let's have a quick gander, shall we, at the man himself. Because if you want to see a Night Lord done properly, well, I know it's unfair, it's an old model, but once you've seen, for instance, Sevatar, once you've seen that, right, and then you look at that, you cannot look at that seriously. Once you've seen Sevatar, you cannot look at that old Night Lord's model seriously anymore. Look at the fucking thing. Look at that, and then look at that. Just, no, it was bad before. It's even worse there. It's even worse once you've got something to compare it to. By far my most disliked model, though, that Games Workshop sells for 40k. It's this one. It's got to be this. It's got to be this. I think it's one of the most clumsily designed models that Games Workshop have ever produced, and I mean that absolutely sincerely. At a glance, what is happening there? You cannot tell what is going on. The weird posing, the flat nature, like the flat look of it. The hand looks like it's coming out of the hair. The hair looks like it should be a leg, but it just does attach to the leg because the leg's there, but there's also another leg there. This weird kind of area where there's a couple of gaps in between all of this joining up. It's so messy and uncoordinated. Like, it's a bloody Phoenix Lord. Phoenix Lord's supposed to look intimidating as hell. What is that? Even if you as you turn it, I mean, it starts to show its age severely as you turn it, but it's just so, there's just so many random joins and weird bits, and it's obviously been sort of, the design was constricted by what they could do at the time in terms of casting and materials, obviously, but at the same time, you lose all sense of dynamics when you have a pose that starts out like that, which starts promising, and then there's the leg that goes, and then there's a weird bit of cloth that connects to the hair, that connects to the head, that the arm looks like it's growing out of, and then when you spin it round, you've got the bit of cloth, which looks fine, but then the bit of cloth is somehow welded into the haft of the spear, and it's so messy, and it makes the character look dumb and uncoordinated and like some sort of mutant freak with arms growing out of bits there shouldn't be stuff growing out of, and you can't tell where a goddamn foot is the first time you look at it. It's by far my most disliked model. Now, I'm expecting to see in the comments baby carrier. Lots of comments about baby carrier. And I'm with you, but you can convert that into something amazing. You can convert a Dreadnought into something that looks real cool using Dreadnought parts and stuff. So, whilst it's up there, the vanilla version, it's not worth mentioning because, well, everyone hates it, and it can be fixed. That can't be fixed. These, they can't really be fixed. That is just, no. No, you can't fix that. I suppose you could replace her head, so it's possible, but that's still metal, so good luck with kit bashing that. That just needs to be got rid of, and so does the other one. But what I want to know is, what are yours? What are yours most hated models? What models do you wish Games Workshop would stop selling for Warhammer 40k? Have I actually selected one of the ones that you dislike? Or are there ones that are even worse than the ones that I've picked out? I'd be interested to hear what you think. As always, I will read the comments, I always do. And until next time, there are many links on the screen for you to click right now if you wish to. You don't have to, it's entirely up to you. I'll see you for the next one. Toodaloo.